All right, I got two co-hosts.
Hey, Mindy. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good, ma'am. How are you?
All right.
Good. Hey, Mindy.
Did you get your packet, Linda?
I did. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, thank Chief Spencer.
And I even got to see Alex for a while.
Cool.
Well, Miss Linda, is this what you expected to be doing for your birthday?
Actually, it's kind of exciting because I just got I could walk starting yesterday. So
Oh, there you go.
I went to the store this morning, but I was in a little scooter. So that wore me out. But that's okay. I've spent many council meetings on my birthday or anniversary. Hmm. 12 by 18.
There he goes.
Click the button. At least I'm not late this time.
Yay.
No. I finally had a heart-to-heart with this thing and said, okay, download this software, because every time I tried to get on, it would say, you have to download the new software, which I had done the previous week and the previous week. And so I think I finally got it fixed. Knock on wood.
We'll let Mindy get back to her desk and then, oh, there she is. Mindy, is there anybody else trying to log on as far as council goes?
Not right now, they're not, no.
Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock, so you go ahead and do whatever you gotta do so we can get started.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, we live?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Special budget workshop meeting for Tuesday, July 28, 2020. Some members of city council may participate via telephone or video conference. A quorum may or may not be physically present in the city council chambers. Texas Government Code 551.127A-2. Citizens wishing to make comments should email mparks@evermantx.net mparks@evermanTX.net. Citizens' comments received prior to the meeting adjourned will be read to the council. So we will go to discussion items. Item 1 is the continuation of the budget workshop focusing on the revenue discussion.
Okay, so the first page in the packet that I was gonna just briefly go over, the budget workshop meeting calendar. I don't believe that there were any changes, but I went ahead and printed a new calendar for everyone to have.
Is this the calendar with the 7 or 8 dates? Or the
Yes,
2020?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Susan, do you prefer Susan or Suzanne?
Susan.
Susan, okay. Why do we have 3 more workshops on small things like payrolls and benefits and then expenditures and tax rates and revenues? Can't we just do those all in one meeting?
We've already done those.
Oh, geez.
Okay.
Man.
I just was listing them all on there so we'd have them all together, but
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't think I looked at the dates? Okay. Thank you.
most of those are already done.
I see that now.
Yes.
Okay, next paper.
Because believe it or not, we are almost done.
See that now.
Okay. The second page is the planning calendar, has a little more detail to it. This is what's actually going to be in the budget book. It shows the 72-hour notices and stuff like that. But that was just for your reference there.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
Susan, I thought our dates were pushed back a week.
No, we were able to get it all worked out and maintain the same dates that I had previously given.
Oh, did we? Okay, great.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's why I reprinted the calendar just so there wouldn't be any confusion on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mackie, any more confusion? I got it.
I guess I should make it color coded next time, huh?
Oh, it would help if I just look.
Okay. So the first one, I think we'll go over the tax rate numbers first. So we'll start with the first sheet in there. It's called the tax rate calculation worksheet. It's about 8 pages or so. Now, these calculations, primarily the numbers come from the county, which we received Friday late in the afternoon. So it was kind of a scramble to get this all put together. But anyhow, you'll see the 2019 numbers on the first page here with the 2000 line number 4, 2019, the total adopted tax rate of 1.085713. Turning to the second page, I'm just going to kind of mention some of the important numbers on this calculation worksheet. There's a lot of numbers and ins and outs, and I can go into further detail if needed, but I'm just kind of trying to bring some of these numbers to your attention. Let's see. Sorry about that. The line 14, the adjusted 2019 taxes was $2,391,453. is the final
Susan?
address? Yes.
Let me just add in there that this number was computed after we set our tax rate last year. And we set our tax rate, calculated the taxes, and subsequent to that, many of the protests came out in our favor and resulted in more tax revenue than what we actually budgeted for 2020. So if you want to look back at the budget for this particular number, you will notice that we were under budget. Our budget was under this number because of protests that got settled in our favor.
And that's where you'll see on the monthly financials when I say that we're at over 100% collected, that's why. Because when we calculate these numbers for budget, we're basing them on July figures. So there's always going to be a slight variation to those numbers. On 3, first line shows the total for 2020 value at 222,866,805.
I'm sorry, what line was that?
That was the first line on page 3.
Ah,
And just below that, you'll see the amount that is under protest for 2020. We have 7 million.
That's actually what they recommend that we put in our calculation. The number of the protest is actually higher, but they give us a conservative number to put in our tax computation so that we don't over budget our revenue.
Okay.
So, and that's again why the final numbers last year came out a little higher than what we budgeted.
Okay. So taking those numbers into consideration, the total taxable value, this is number 21. For this year, the calculation that we'll be using is for 234,674,995. You'll see that number in several places on these documents. Okay. And so to confuse everyone, they have, yes, they have changed the names of the tax rates. Previously, they used to be called the rollback rate and the effective rate.
yeah.
Yes. And those have been changed. The effective rate is now called the no new revenue tax rate. Yeah. And then the rollback rate is called voter approval rate, tax rate. So on number 26 here,
That's the
you will see number 26 on page 3. You will see the no new revenue tax rate, which is effective tax rate. And that is 997,229.
And just to remind everyone what that means, that's the tax rate that if we applied it to the calculated taxable base for 2020 would give us the identical revenue that we got for this year.
Right.
So turning to page 4, this is where we calculated the voter approval tax rate, which is our rollback tax rate.
Rollback rate.
And line 28 shows this rate for 2019 at 1.002491.
It's, Susan, it's actually the M&O portion of,
Whole, yes, you're right. Apologize. Hmm.
I might add that when you multiply that M&O rate times last year's tax base, that 2,212,047 should have been the budgeted number for property tax in the general fund. And I believe the actual amount that we budgeted was closer to 2,000,001.
Correct.
In fact, it was 2,027,315.
315, yes. Turning to page 6, you will see on line E, this is the debt amount for 2020. And then our calculations for the debt rate, which are on line 46. And that's 0.072408.
That's the rate that will be applied to get our debt service or our Fund 3 property tax revenue that is used to pay our bond debt. Because our obligations for next year are $169,925. That's principal and interest.
For just Fund 3
Right.
debt.
Oh, which bond?
That's the 2013 bond.
Okay.
Well, y'all are talking like Fund 3. Do we have a Fund 1 and 2?
Yes.
Yeah, one is your general fund, two is your water fund, and 3 is the debt service for all bonds issued by the general fund.
Thank you.
Now, didn't you say at one of the other meetings that one of the bonds will be paid off this year?
The water portion of the 2013 bond, which was, when that bond was taken out, they merged some debt from water and general fund, and the water portion was paid off this year. So the debt from the water fund is completely gone, except for the new borrowings.
So the line 47 shows the 2020 voter approval tax rate, which is the rollback tax rate of 1.092569.
And at this point, Susan, you might tell them about the new state law regarding capping the interest rate increase.
Okay, due to the emergency COVID disaster proclamation, the state has allowed us to opt out of the 3.5% and take up to an 8% ceiling on the property tax. Now, this, because the rollback rate would have been more like 1.04 instead of this 1.09 if we had left it as the 3.5. We get this, we're entitled to the year of the disaster and the following year, we can take this. We don't want to lower the tax rates too much because after we lose this, they will automatically go down. So we don't want to take
Why
that.
would we want a higher rate?
Because we're trying to fund a declining equity position in the general fund. As I notified everyone, I have just recently had a meeting with Standard & Poor's about our credit rating. And the biggest part of that credit rating is how much equity you have unattached in the general fund. That equity position has gone down from $1.5 million to closer to 300,000 over the past 4 years.
Oh.
And because of that, we're in jeopardy of getting another downgrade on our S&P rating. We do not want that because that affects our interest rates on all of our new debt.
And so by taking that exemption, we're not choosing to increase the tax rate. Our recommendation is to leave the tax rate at the same amount as last year, even though we could have gone as high as the 1.092569. We'd like to keep that at the 1.085713.
And keep in mind that that 1.09 rate is the maximum we can, without voter approval, apply to this year's appraised values.
Okay.
And then on the last page, page 8, just lists out the rates that I've just mentioned in the middle portion. So the no new revenue tax rate of 0.997229.
Effective rate.
And again, that's the effective rate. I had to keep telling myself as well. So
I have to write this down and stick it on the wall.
I know it's so confusing why they have to change the names. The voter approval rate being the rollback rate of 1.092569.
What's a de minimis rate?
That is a rate that they use to measure whether or not your chosen rate exceeds a de minimis level. So if we came in and recommended 1.24% or 1.24 as a rate, that would come into play. But because it's a 1.23 and we're recommending a 1.08 rate, it's a non-issue.
Yeah, but what's a minimus rate?
De minimis just means minimal change rate. De minimis is a word for insignificant.
Oh. Okay.
So now we know what the effective rate and the rollback rate is, and the next sheet's going to be talking about what we're recommending as a rate for your consideration. And that'll be the separate sheet.
Yes. This is called the worksheet for determination of steps required for adoption of tax rate. And basically on this worksheet, we take the taxable values and we calculate what our potential tax amount would be based on the tax rate that we propose. So on line 10, you'll see this year's proposed tax rate of 1.085713.
And just so you know, line 7 shows you what the budget will be if we adopt this rate for the general fund's tax revenues. That's the 2,377,974. And if you look at line 4, that's what last year's was. So we're looking at 166,000 increase in revenue. And when we get to the budget sheets, you will see the property tax number recommended for the current property tax is the 2,377,974. Actually, Susan, it changed from 971 to 974 for some reason. I guess it doesn't matter. $3.
What was that?
Well, when I put this number on the spreadsheet, it was 2,377,971, and now on this sheet, it's 974. I'm not gonna worry about $3.
Okay.
And we have the public hearing scheduled for next week on these tax rates.
I might add one more thing at the very bottom, just for reference point. There is a comparison of what this tax rate will do for a $100,000 property value. It will raise the property taxes by $10.81 per 100,000 property value.
Well, that's not bad.
No.
That would be called de minimis.
Aha, got you. Minimus. Sounds
Can
like the
we-
name. Go ahead.
Said, can we do the public hearing at 5:30 instead of 6 o'clock?
It's up to y'all.
Make a difference?
We prefer that.
Well, we did this for Kelly's sake and he's not here, so.
All right, so can we just go
we
back to
just-
5:30?
If everybody's in agreement on it, we can do that.
I
Okay.
agree.
Me
Fine
too.
with me.
Linda,
Yes.
Johnny?
That's fine.
Okay. We'll make it
Okay.
5:30.
Okay, we'll change that on the notification
Okay.
on the website. Okay,
Are we doing the budget?
yep. Let's
All right,
transition over to the revenue budget.
okay.
Okay. So like Mr. Gunderson just mentioned, you'll see on the second line on this first page, the property tax. The proposed budget shows that 2,434,071 that we were just going.
That's actually the total of all property tax.
Oh, I'm sorry, drop down 2 lines. You're
Yeah,
right.
The current tax line.
2,377,971.
Yeah, the 2,434,000 is the total of delinquent collections, penalty and interest, and then the budgeted number from our tax calculation.
So current taxes is the 2,377,000.
Yes, correct.
Franchise tax.
The only other one with the changed amount for this year, we have the right-of-way franchise fees. We increased just slightly to 44,000. It was 41,000 this last year.
On the community center fees, is that what we've collected for renting the annex?
Yes.
Yes,
So that's normally what it brings in a year, $5,000?
in normal years, yes. This has not been a normal year.
No, not at all.
It's been shut down for so long. Especially during the summer months when a lot of people would have been having parties and stuff.
Right, right. And the pavilion is 2,000 a year, a little over that.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you all have in front of you the expense budget for general fund, but again, remember that we're focused on making sure that our revenue budget exceeds our expenditure budget by a significant amount for our S&P rating purposes. So that's why we're trying to contain our expenditures this year.
Okay, the park for ball field fees is, how does that normally work? Do they pay anything for using the ball field or what is that? What was the $2,000 for and the $500?
Yeah, they normally pay us a fee for exclusive use of the ballparks.
Okay, so is that the same as well for the football field?
Yeah, there's usually an agreement before the season where they give us a deposit and they pay us a fee for the use of the fields.
Okay.
One thing I did want to mention with regard to sales tax revenues and bingo and mixed drink and so forth, we did not change the budget this year because frankly, I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 to 8 months. So we budgeted the same number. We are on target with our sales tax. Our mixed drinks are close, but they're down. And our bingo revenue was strong early in the year, so it's close to the budget, but I'm not sure that's going to happen over the next 6 months. It's just hard to tell with this coronavirus, but we did not raise them. Hopefully we will recover and those things will take off and we'll catch up. But
That's on the top of page 2 if you were looking for that.
and keep in mind that also affects the revenues in the street fund, the crime control fund, and EDC, because they get a portion of the sales tax revenue.
Do we, are there a lot of residents that use the security alarm where we collect the fee?
There's quite a few.
Yes, ma'am. We get quite a few from those.
How has our court fines been?
It's
So
been a
far.
problem primarily because we haven't been able to hold court consistently.
Yeah.
And even when we actually held court last time, we had a lot of no-shows.
Oh,
And of course, we couldn't schedule as many as normal because of the COVID.
right.
And then half of those didn't show up.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so it
Okay.
it has affected
Yeah.
the revenues there.
Yeah.
So
that may be-
do we fine for no-shows? Is that just added on, or what is it, what happens when there's a no-show?
That's on a case-by-case basis, and it depends on the ruling of the judge. As a court of record, the judge can issue what's called a failure to appear fine on top of the initial fine. Typically, our judge has been pretty lenient on those. However, if it's an ongoing, persistent thing, he does have the authority to issue a failure to appear fine on top of that. But that's completely up to the judge.
Is everybody good with the general fund? Because I got some comments on the water fund.
I'm good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, on the water fund, you'll notice that the water fees and sewer fees, we have budgeted a 7.5% increase. We will exceed our budget this year. Since we increased the fee schedule or the base rate on water and sewer fees, we are improving our cash position, and it looks like we should expect at least a 7.5% increase over our prior year budget in the next year. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Okay.
All the other revenue items in water are static. We left them the same.
Before the COVID-19 happened, how was the investment coming along?
How does what?
Investment, income?
That has been low. The Feds dropped the national interest rate. So it's been nearly, even prior to this, it was nearly impossible to meet our number for this year.
Yeah, we should not expect our interest revenues to improve. And you will notice as we go through some of the other funds that we have dropped the interest revenues by about 50% from the previous year budget. And that's not because of balances, that's because of interest rates.
Correct.
And once again, if you compare this budget for revenue and water, it exceeds the expenditure budget by a significant amount, which is intentional. And we expect that to continue so that they can draw down that deficit they have in their cash position. So both the general fund and the water fund, we expect significant improvement in their equity position during the next year.
That's the goal.
Questions on water?
Nope.
Well, one thing I failed to mention when we were talking about general fund, there was an item in there for gains and losses on the sale of assets. If you remember when we were talking about the lease arrangement with Enterprise, we have significant lease expense in Department 15, and most of that is going to be offset by gain on sale of assets when we turn over the fleet each year. So you will notice that we raise that gain in that account to $70,000, which will materially reduce the impact of the lease expense in Department 15, which is the maintenance garage, where we're recording all the white fleet expenses, lease expenses. Any questions about that?
Okay.
Okay, the fourth page is just your debt service fund. Again, that debt service fund is just the fund where we accrue the property tax necessary to make our bond payments. As you recall, our property tax rate is split into the M&O rate and the INS rate. The INS rate is at 0.07, and that's the amount that accrues into this fund. So the revenue you see here in the property tax current is the amount of principal and interest due on our bonds next year. And that's what should accrue into the fund from our property tax collections. You see there's a small number in there for investment income, but it's insignificant.
De minimis.
Right. De minimis.
I'm using my new word.
All right. Any questions about debt service? It's pretty straightforward.
Do we pay that normally as once a year, or do we make installment payments?
Our principal payment is paid once a year in February. And
Yes,
along
yes.
with that, you pay 6 months of interest. And then in August, you make another interest payment, but not a principal payment.
Okay.
Any other questions on this fund?
No.
Okay. The next page has a whole bunch of funds on it. And they don't, not too many of them have a revenue source other than their primary. As most of you know, EDC, their primary income stream is 50 basis points of our sales tax. We are, again, not changing the budget. We're budgeting the same amount that we budgeted for the current year. Along with that, crime control and street improvement tax, it's actually the street fund. Also, they get 25 basis points of our sales tax. And so their revenue is pretty much fixed at that. Other than that, those three funds only have investment income, and it's dependent on the interest rates again. You'll notice most of those, we reduced the budget by about 50%. Okay. The only other fund that has a significant revenue on this page is the TIF fund. And again, the TIF gets money based on increased property values in our TIF zone. And it's a combination of the city pays a certain amount, the hospital district pays a certain amount, and the county pays a certain amount. we invoice the county and the hospital district, and then we make an entry for our share. And our portion is recognized as an expenditure in the finance department budget. And that's what you see in the intergovernmental revenue. That's the expected, that's a conservative expectation of what the revenues will be in that fund for next year. It probably will be closer to 140, but again, I'd rather under budget that than over budget. Any questions on any of these?
No.
All right. Well, Susan, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Well, on the last page, we just have the Fund 29 and 30.
Oh,
And
those
both,
didn't get on the same page?
I'm sorry?
Those weren't on the same page? I'm looking online, that's why.
No, it's on page 5.
Okay.
And those two amounts have stayed the same for those, the primary revenue source for those. We kept the same, and then reduce the interest income for Fund 29.
Yeah, I think the biggest decision council has to look at is what tax rate you want to adopt. Obviously, you got to adopt a tax rate between the 99-cent effective rate and the 109
Rollback.
rollback rate. And what we've submitted to you is a recommendation of keeping the same rate rather than going all the way up to the rollback rate. And if everybody's good with that, we'll proceed. If not, then at the first hearing, then we can modify, because we've already put out the public notice for the hearing with this tax rate for, what date was it? The 4th?
Yes.
But that is subject to change based on your input.
We can get what we need on the 99-cent that you're recommending. I think we need to go with that.
Say that again?
Are you recommending that we go with a 99-cent?
No, we're recommending that we go with the 1.085713, which is the current year tax rate.
Yeah, okay, I just got the wrong number. Stay with the current number.
Right,
Maintain.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's stay with
Yeah.
that. We get enough money to do what we need.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the dollar amount between the difference really is not significant. Going up to the 1.09 would only bring in an additional $16,000.
De minimis.
Well,
Just leave
something we
it.
got to keep in mind, you know, we take money out of reserves every year and we've got to put in more than we're taking out. We've got to have a balanced budget and we're working towards that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we definitely need to consider that.
You need to be careful what we spend money on.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Anything else on this?
I believe that's all I have for this evening.
Okay. All right, then we'll go into executive session pursuant to section 551.071, chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Council reserves the right to convene into executive sessions from time to time as deemed necessary during the meeting to receive advice from the attorney on any posted agenda item as permitted by law. Additionally, council may convene into executive session to discuss the following: pending and contemplated litigation or to seek the advice of city attorney pursuant to section 551.071, discussion regarding possible purchase, sale, exchange, lease of, or real value of real property pursuant to section 551.072. Item C, personnel matters pursuant to section 551.074. 1, city manager, and 2, city secretary. So Mindy, if you'd put us in our breakout room, just the council right now. And let me know when you're ready.